Hello, Wild Woman Way podcasters. I'm here with my dear friend Ulrica. She is a badass, wise witch woman who has this beautiful studio in Sweden. And we both came out of a similar yoga study lineage. And she reached out to me on Instagram. I think it started like this on
Yeah.
Instagram. Yeah, I was speaking out against some of the scamdemic situation and and she messaged like, hey, you're not alone and I'm with you and this is what I've been going through and this is what I'm noticing. And we developed a beautiful bond, and I even went to Sweden to teach at her studio and we spent a week together. It was super nice. And she has a really beautiful story. As you know, she was really in the mainstream uh program in a big way and then made a huge shift and created this amazing beautiful life in next culture in Sweden and also LA. And I'm just grateful that she's here, that you are here and you can share your story with us. So welcome.
Thank you, Charlotte. And
Yeah.
so funny because we have the same yoga teacher. Um, and I think that at the time I was feeling really alone. And I was also a mentor in this yoga teacher's 300-hour teacher training program. And I was feeling very um, ostracized in a way. And then you spoke out, and I was like, I'm with you. It was just such a joyful moment. There were so many amazing connections that we made and so many new pathways during that time. And I just felt so blessed, to have connected with you. It was just supposed to be, right?
Totally.
Yeah. So thank you for that amazing introduction. I love that you all those descriptions, and it's funny because um, I don't look at myself that way sometimes, but like in my core, I am kind of like that for sure. So yeah, my I live in Sweden and I also live in LA. Um, and I split my time between these two places. I'm a mother of three children. And I started out a long time ago at Time Warner, which was at the time the biggest media company in the world. And I worked there as an editor at People magazine for 17 years. And at the time, People was the largest magazine of its kind in the world and the largest magazine in that corporation, which also owned Time magazine and Fortune and In Style and CNN and all these House Beautiful and all that stuff. Real Simple. I don't know if you remember that. So I was kind of entrenched and completely in this media world at a very high level for a very long time. Um, and from there, when I had my kids, my husband and I just said, after my third child was born, I had three children under the age of 4.5. We just had this idea that let's just go to Sweden because that's where I was born. And we moved to Sweden, and we moved to a town where I didn't really know anyone. And I think just like you, Charlotte, you have this great need to find connection and community. Like we're both community builders in some way.
Mm.
And I wanted to build a community, and there was no yoga studio in my town. So at the time, so there was a yoga studio in a nearby town. It's funny enough that that woman who runs that yoga studio now is my best friend, um, and she and I work together a lot. She's at my studio and we do a ton of fun things together. I opened my yoga studio and I created a community, and that's what I've been doing since then. And I've taken the studio through these last 3 years of a lot of change and um, a lot of feelings of contraction on the outside. You know what I mean? There's so much pressure to contract from the outside while I was in this space of community where I continuously was trying really hard to expand at the same time. And that was just almost the most beautiful thing, like when the expansion is painful, but it's necessary while the outside world is just asking to contract. And that's been my journey for the last 3 years, both personally and as a woman who runs a successful, business. Um, and I think a lot of us has experienced that, right?
Mm.
I think that the pressure from the outside for a lot of us made us more resilient and more determined to expand from within.
Wow. So how does it look in your life now to be expanding from within?
It looks,
Like and with the pressure, do you still feel there's this outside pressure as strong as it was?
it's not as strong as it was. I think a lot more people are coming into their own now, and there are a lot more people who are starting to become curious about um, wanting to explore something that's lighter, wanting to explore their boundaries. I know you talk a lot about going to the edge. I always have this picture of going to the edge of the cliff. You know what I mean? And I think that that feels like a really joyful um, development for me. What's going on right now feels really expansive and joyful. And I feel for a lot of us in this space, it's hard to find your own voice in that because there is so much copying of each other in a way. But I think it's really important that we find our own voice and our own unique role in this new world that we're trying to create together as a community in a bigger way. But for
Mm.
me, it's like I always think about it, and I'm sure that you've heard me talk about this before as the river. I always imagine this little river that's flowing through this beautiful nature. And this is me, like the river is me, but it's also humanity. And in its river, there are big boulders, and there are little boulders and little tiny rocks. And the big boulders are really heavy and really difficult. And you look at them and you're just like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to move them. They're just too big. I mean, the things that are within us, some of the stuff, some of the darkness, some of the shadow that we are, where it's coming at us and we're just like, I don't want to move that boulder. It's too big. I'm going to focus on moving the little ones, that's easier for me. But we've come to a time where we have to, a lot of us are moving the big boulders, right? We're moving like the really gigantic boulders out of our river and we're starting to really flow. Can you feel that? I mean, and the thing what happens is like when you start removing the big ones, when you go into the darkness and you go into your shadow and you really go into this place where you didn't want to go before, and you start removing the big ones, more water is starting to flow. And then everything starts to go faster. And your expansion is starting to feel like something is really happening. And the little ones are like becoming easier to pick up. And I think that's kind of, for me, it's been my experience especially this last year. Like I've really gone there and I've just like, I'm going to remove that big fat boulder right now. Even though it just looks like it's impossible, I'm going to go there, I'm going to remove it. And then once I've done that, through all the ways that we do this work, this river is starting to flow. And then there are the little ones left, the little things that we have to move in order for it to become fully expansive. But it becomes easier, you know.
Yeah.
Um, that's that's for me personally, but I also feel that's what we're doing in the world. And some of the places in the world, there's just like there's so much shadow out. I can't even look at it. Can you?
No, I can't look at it anymore. I
Yeah.
can't I don't turn on the news anymore. Like I just don't even look at some of
Yeah.
this bullshit anymore.
No.
And
It,
yeah, the darkness, like it's some of it's like, okay, this is just I notice this is just a fake thing that I'm looking at. Like this is not a real thing. And then there's also like the real darkness, which somehow I find myself being confronted with while holding space for people to do their healing work, because a lot of what people are healing from is their past, which was dark. So I feel
Yeah.
like getting I'm seeing it a lot and I'm hearing it from people. And so I don't feel like I don't I'm a yeah, I definitely see it and I'm experiencing it through other people and noticing it, which keeps me my fire alive to keep going.
Yeah.
I have a question. What is the big boulder that you recently, or like what's an example of a big boulder that you've been able to, as you say, move?
Um, I mean, a big boulder that I was able to move. It's been kind of like it's been, once you move one, there's like another, there's another one.
Totally.
One of the ones that was been so really big for me is this feeling that I'm not supposed to be here, like I wasn't wanted, you
Mm,
know, and um, and I don't know where that's coming from. I can't specifically point that out, but it's this feeling of I wasn't really uh, an anticipated to arrive with ecstatic joy. You know what I mean? Like the arrival of me did not come with the ecstatic joy um, of, that I was expecting. Like I recently had a really powerful emotional release with someone named Ashley Frost that I work with, and you can find her on Instagram. It's Ashley V Frost, and she does, I think it's neo emotional release. And it it took me to a place where I was just born. I was just a newborn, and I was there, and I was laying in the fetal position, and I was feeling tremendous fear, like the kind of fear and it's just darkness, and the darkness is as vast as the entire universe, and just to allow myself to feel that, and just to heal that space was really profound for me. And then what came after that was so much love, for for myself. And I
mm,
think that's the fountain that we have to, for me, that's like that's my that's part of my life's expression, is to find this, pure essential love that's within us. And for me to really feel that love for my own existence, the fact that I felt that I maybe wasn't really supposed to be here, and to remove that big boulder and to know, hey, I am supposed to be there, and this is my greatest gift. My greatest gift is to understand and to remove this boulder so I can maybe help other people who feel that way too. Say, hey, you're supposed to be here. This is your biggest gift. The fact
mm,
that maybe you didn't feel wanted is your greatest gift, right? To turn that around and feel like, yeah, I'm really wanted, and the one person I'm really wanted by is myself. You know, I want to be. So that was one of my big boulders.
mm,
And what happens is when you start removing these is, for me, it's like you're walking around the world, and I'm really visual, and and I see a lot of stuff without plant medicine or alcohol or ayahuasca. I have a lot of visceral experiences that are pretty heavy and amazing. And once you just start removing these big boulders, you start seeing like little clouds in front of people. I see that, and I see these little dark clouds of our traumas or whatever it is, and our that are keeping us apart. That we are not allowing ourselves to see the other person clearly, or seeing ourselves clearly. I can see them, and once you start removing your own, call them little clouds, suddenly like all this tension that you felt in different situations, or maybe with different people that you had a problem with, especially like family members, they just dissipate. It's almost like you think about that cloud, and if you make your sun super bright, like if you make yourself become the brightest sun that you could possibly be, that's when the clouds, they just dissipate and then disappear. And that's kind of what's happened, and it's given me a lot of freedom, within, and a lot of joy. You know,
Mm.
am I talking too much?
No, no, that's the point of this.
It's like blah 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 blah. Yeah. Can you
Thank
tell that I'm like I had voice act. I'm like doing all this voice activation. I've done it for so long now. I think you have to stop me from talking now. Yeah.
you. No, it's great. I love hearing you and thank you for all of that. Yeah. So did your emotional work, like did you start doing that with Jeff and then you've been kind of carrying on opening this part of you and doing this healing work?
For me, I think it started a long time ago. I mean, I practiced yoga for like over 25 years, you
Mm,
know,
yeah.
and just a deep dive into the system of yoga, and like really studying and really embodying yoga. I think yoga is so beautiful, and I sometimes in this new age of spirituality that we kind of forget the depth of knowledge that's there, like we
Mm,
want to jump to the fun parts. Like we want to jump to the fun part of doing an emotional release, or we want to jump to the fun part of doing like a kundalini awakening process or something like that, and we kind of skip the enormous amount of work that it comes before then, like the understanding of the bigger picture. I think yoga is it's like it's the knowing of the self, and if you don't know yourself, all other knowledge is flawed. And for me it started in a real way, started just when I first started doing it. Yoga, it was Ashtanga yoga, and it was really sweating, it was really heavy, and I really got into my body, and I became very rooted in my own self, almost like, my roots of Pasha Mama, Mama Earth, they just like, and I came into my body. And after that, it became a lot of bhakti yoga, just like with you, the singing and the mantras and that beauty of awakening all those energetic beings within yourself, all those qualities that have been dormant for so many thousands of years through our different lifetimes. That was something that was incredibly relieving and expansive for me. That the singing and the voice activation that I was doing, just like seeing my voice change and becoming a clearer channel of the words that came out of me. I spent so many years being interviewing other people and telling other people's story that I wasn't able to connect with so many parts of my own voice because I had become the conduit for other people's story. You know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I know you doing a lot of these podcasts now, interviewing people, but I had done that repeatedly for almost 2 decades. I
mm,
have forgotten how to tell my own story, or what my own story even was.
wow.
Yeah. So I think for me, just, and I know you've done this too, the 2 week chant camps we've done, where you're just singing and singing. It's just terrifying. You're just like, God, I don't want to do it. No, it's not. I don't want to do. I don't want it to be my turn. And you're just like, oh, like in front of all these people, and you have to sing. It's terrifying, and you have to do it
Yeah.
like over and over again for 2 weeks, so many times every day. And finally, you just like, fuck it, I'm just going to allow my voice to come out the way it's meant to be, in
Mm,
its purest form, from my inner knowing. And
mm,
that is like, you know, that really is amazing. I also love, I know you think I'm crazy now, but I love the Ramayana. Have you read the Ramayana?
just parts of it, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just the story of Hanuman is just so incredible, And reading that book really kind of changed me in some ways,
Mm,
because he's, Hanuman. And I don't even know if I should go into this story, but it's so beautiful. You know, he's this little monkey that's the son of Vayu, the god of the wind, right? He's incredibly powerful. And he is so out of control, wild with his powers when he was little. Um, like, you know, like all kids are. We're just like crazy and we're climbing everywhere, and he's just doing all kinds of different mischief. Um, so all the other gods call in his father and said, we're going to, if you don't hide his immense powers somewhere where he will never find it, we're going to kill him. Um, so his dad, Mr. Bayou, hid all his powers and all his magic within himself, because that was the only place that he felt that he would never look, right?
Mm.
He would never look here. So Hanuman became a regular monkey. And then we know he went on this whole trip with Ram and trying to rescue Sita. And in the process of trying to rescue Sita, he came to the edge of the cliff, right? Because Sita was on the island with the big bad, oh my God, Ravana, like 4,000 kilometers out to the ocean. And Hanuman was standing there right on the edge. We're always talking about being on the edge, right, Charlotte? We're standing on the edge. What the fuck am I going to do here? He's standing on the edge, and he says, how am I going to get to her? How am I going to save her? And somewhere from within him, there's a voice that says, just take a step out, because you have the power within yourself. The power is here within you already. You already have it. And you can just see this little monkey, right? He's standing at the cliff and he's just like taking the big step out. And of course, he's the son of the, god of the wind. He takes that big step out and he just flies. And Hanumanasana is the split, right? You can just see a little monkey flying across the ocean, like saving Sita. And I think it's so beautiful because your work is so much about that,
Mm.
taking yourself to the edge, because this is where you are going to discover your amazing magical power. And that book was so profound for me.
Mm.
And after that, I think that then I started working with Jeff Shub, the Urban Barefoot. Is his Instagram. I'm sure you guys are already all following him. And yeah, that was incredible.
Mm.
That really became like I came into my body yet again. I've been like in the spiritual world so much, like I came back here once again. It's almost like going full circle. Now I'm back in my body,
Mm.
and that's where I've been for a while. Um, and being back in that body and doing all those amazing things with Jeff was just like some of the stuff we did was just totally bananas. Uh, it was so funny. I was reading a quote the other day from someone, and it says, you have to allow yourself to become insane in order for you to put your pieces back together
Oh,
again. And
yes,
there's been
yes.
so many times when I was working with Jeff, and I was like, he must think that I'm totally insane. But, he knows that this is what you do. And the same with Ashley. It's like sometimes during these emotional release sessions, I'm like, she must think that I'm bonkers, because I'm allowing myself to become completely insane in order for me to discover that what had Hanuman discovered, the magic that is within myself that has
Mm.
been hidden here for thousands of years, that we are now collectively and individually discovering. And it's the urge to discover this is so strong that we just don't give a shit what's going on out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it becomes completely irrelevant. Um, and I'm with you with that.
Mm.
Not watching, don't watch. It's like it would be so weird to watch the news, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Wow, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing the Hanuman story. The way that you tell it is amazing. Yeah, thank you. And I love what you said about letting yourself go insane. It's almost like you have to go beyond your mental body. Like you have to completely go beyond what you know And so
Yeah.
this insanity is like you don't know where you are, you don't know what's up from down. You've completely like gone into a chaotic state, which is the wild feminine. And
Yeah.
inside of that is where the where you find your power is what I heard you
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
is true. It's like so, ugh.
Yeah.
And not to be afraid, of going there. That
Yeah.
it's okay. Like, and we speak so much about, the four core feelings that we have, and it's okay to feel. It's okay to feel the depth, the full on depth of the fear, like the existential fear of being a baby and coming out and not knowing why is no one holding me, you know what I mean? Or what's going on here? I can just imagine the babies who came out and their parents put that baby in a dark room and closed the door and they had to scream themselves to,
Mm,
it's just that you have to, if that was your childhood and that was what what happened, you have to go there because you are still the same body that you were when you were a newborn. Your body is still the same cells are still here. You're still the same container, even though you're bigger now. So
mm,
if you have to go there, you know what I mean? And you have to feel that overwhelming fear. And then once you do, you feel such compassion and so much love just for yourself. You can see that, you can see that little baby that you were and the fear that you felt when you were born into this strange place. And maybe things were not perfect, you know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I've held space for like I don't want to say hundreds, but like a lot, like maybe
Yeah.
20 different people that have let their fear get big enough to go back to the newborn time. And yeah, it's like it's a huge edge to actually let yourself go like it's kind of like flipping a switch. There's like a switch that happens when you actually let yourself go all the way to experience that again. And it's so painful because you don't want to go back. Like you're like,
Yeah.
what I don't want to do that again. I already had it once.
Yeah.
And that's really the brave path of healing is being brave enough and saying, okay, like this is where I have to go again. I have to go again here to somehow complete it and recreate it and go move through it. And as an adult now, I have the consciousness to be able to do that, which
Yeah.
is so like it's so beautiful. There's like it gives me such hope because no matter how fucked up your childhood was, I really feel like there is a way.
Yeah. There is. But it takes enormous courage. And before we got on here, you talked about the hero's journey and our hero's journey. Most of the time, I feel like we talk about the hero's journey, it's connected to the divine masculine, but there's also divine feminine hero's journey that's happening.
Mm,
Um, and that's what you're talking about. Like, this is the hero's journey for us to go back. And we're, we came from the mother, like, the
yeah,
mother
wow.
is our mother, it's like to go back there and be held by her, maybe be held by the big mother as well as our earth mother,
Oh,
and just to feel all that love that is for us, that's for here, just because we are alive. There's nothing else that is important. Like, it's just because you're alive that you get to have this enormous love for your own being, you
mm,
know and to be held in that, I think, is it's I mean, it's so incredible. Feels so beautiful. I'm getting chills. I'm like, oh, mother, mother.
yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I feel this conversation about mother really touching me because when I met you, I was really feeling like the lack of mother energy in my life and nothing to do with my own mother. I mean, it's more about like where are the people that are nurturing and where in that time where I decided to speak up against things, I lost my all my friends, literally
Yeah.
all my friends, except for like a couple of people, and then actually I found new friends when I, found my way. But meeting you, and you are actually a mother, and and in many ways I felt like, oh, here's a mother woman that's like giving me a transmission of what it means to be a mother in this life, and in this way, outside of the program, outside of like how it should be, but like you walking to the beat of your own drum. And I really felt that, and then so many things have like taken me on this journey to like find the mother of the cosmic mother, like to be held by the cosmic mother, and then to realize I am also a mother, and then I can hold myself, and just like the woman, yeah, this energy that is, it's just, we are it. And I feel really grateful to have met, especially in that time, to like have met you and to have felt like so supported as I was like coming of age, to like take the steps to become a mother myself. Like I really, yeah. So I want to thank you for being there, and just for like holding this transmission, and continuing to really be that for the world and for your community in Sweden. Like I was there, and I saw how you've made a womb space where people can come to return to their essence and their truth, and this like essential love like that is within, which you just, yeah, which you so beautifully just shared through story. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think that when you came here, it was just it, we both got something so tremendous out of that. That was so healing, and my what I got out of that, you know what it was, and it's incredibly personal, and I'm not going to share it here, but it was just such it was so big for me that was that yeah, our paths definitely came together in a very potent moment. And that's what happens, once we start opening ourselves up. And
Mhm.
I know how you feel about losing so many people. I did too, and it's very hurtful.
Mm,
And you feel really alone, and that feeling of um, all that stuff that comes back. I'm not good enough, I mean? I'm not lovable. Um, they're not going to fight for me, or they are not going to hold on to me because of this one thing, because I'm not enough. You know what I mean?
mm,
Oh, this was the only thing that I didn't do similarly. And I am going to be discarded for that because the rest of me is not enough for them to love me. You know what I mean?
mm,
It's like a lot of these wounds, I think, for many of us came up. And then there was no other way for us to go than into that and figure out. I mean, I'm sure we could have drank ourselves silly with alcohol or something. I don't know. Since I don't drink alcohol, that wasn't really an option for me. But you know what I mean? Or like, I don't know how much kombucha I can drink in order to make myself like buzz. But
yeah,
there's
yeah.
just no other option. We had to go there, and it was. I just love when you came here to Sweden and we went swimming in the ocean. It was so cold, and it was just like screaming our heads off in the water. It was so fun. Yeah,
Wow, that was such an important turning point in my life.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do
I
this too.
I kind of feel like we should tell the story, the personal story, or I don't know. It's so beautiful. Like I'm crying already.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. For me, it was like what you represented for me. It was so personal that I don't want to share that.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll keep that our little secret.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's so interesting when you talk about that womb space, and I think because that's what I feel that my yoga studio is it's a womb, and it's in a really old building. It's been there for over 100 years, and you've been there. The walls they're like this thick. So when you go in there and you close the door, the entire world is just out. It's gone, and you're in the room, and it's so funny because the ceilings are like 28 feet tall. It's like a gigantic space in there, and so you really feel like there's almost like this round room space to it. It's not like the regular man-made building of just like, destructive. It's like it's this space,
Yes.
and I know earlier we were talking a little bit about beauty and love, right? Beauty and love. And I think that you also listen a lot to Zach Bush, and you'd listen to him during this whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I just love the way he looks at the world, and he talks a lot about beauty and love, right? That it's so hard for us to get to a point where we can feel that unconditional, pulsating, like sponda type of a love that holds the universe together. And he says maybe that's not it. It takes so much work and so much, I don't know, not sitting in a cave, but it takes an enormous amount to become an enlightened being. And I'm not there yet. And I can glimpse the universal love, and I can feel that field at times. But what everyone can understand and relate to is beauty, right? No matter where you come from, you don't have to have read all the Vedic texts, and you don't have to have done like 1,000 sessions with Jeff where you're ripped, your entire heart out and you're just like crushed, and then you put yourself back into pieces. You don't have to have done any of that stuff. Everyone can appreciate beauty,
Mm.
right? The beauty of nature, like just going out and seeing the beauty of a forest, or the beauty of a tree, or the beauty of the clouds, the real non-chemtrail trail clouds in the sky. It's like, oh, it's so beautiful. So I think that's something that we have to kind of look at. And for me, when I created that yoga studio, I really wanted people to feel beauty when they came in there, and feeling the from the feeling of, wow, there is so much beauty here. From there, I can almost take them into the little trail, into the room of, unconditional love for their own being.
Mm.
I think almost like the beauty is the entryway. Well, so since we were talking about the yoga studio, like the little, how,
Yeah.
how it felt to be in there. And there are different ways of creating that. You're creating that too in your community, the feeling of beauty, but you're doing it in a different way with,
Mm.
you know, living at ease with nature. That's another form of beauty.
Yeah. I love that you brought that in, because it's something that is not, I feel, not talked about so much, but it has such a huge impact, um, on life and like on the space. And actually, in like the spaces that I hold and that Jeff and I hold together, we actually have a whole thing about like making this space beautiful and energetically like taking care of it so that like the most possibilities can happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I see that it really does matter, like this beauty, not in the like superficial Barbie way,
I
obviously.
know, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I love that you bring that in, because I really feel it's another beautiful place to start. It's like where to start, and it's like, okay, you could start there. It's like everyone, like you said, everyone knows what that might mean, and
Yeah.
it can be a clue or a doorway into something.
Yeah.
Yeah, leading you into the to the other spaces.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, yeah. I want to share something about when I met you. That's like coming to me. I'm just realizing now is that I've discovered on this journey that like wherever I go, I can find like the great cosmic mother is with me. Like
Yeah.
there's always this, I I can find it. And I think for a long time, when I really charted my own path, I was alone. Like I'm alone in Costa Rica. I'm alone here. I don't have like my actual mother with me. And also I'm like evolving. But then I realized like this, like I remember we were on the dock and we came out of the water and I was just really crying because I felt like my relationship, I wasn't sure what was happening. it really was like scary. And I'm like, I didn't know what was going on. And I was just so sad. And you hugged me like I've never been hugged before. It was like this like 2 minute hug. And I just felt like myself, oh my God, like I felt so held by you. And I realized like since then that wherever I look, like I can find what I need, whether it's within myself or like, like it's all there. This mother, it's like the earth is holding you, and then they put people in front of you, and then she cut, Gaia, she puts you in front of me, and makes this connection, and like here I am. And it's this thing where I just keep trusting more and more life. Like I keep trusting more to go my own way, and like keep following my truth in my heart. And like as I go, like I take a jump off the cliff, and there will be, and I'm held, like I'm, yeah. And there's like an even deeper thing about that intersection between you and I. But for me, it was like really, really huge, because it had almost been 2 years where I had basically been alone, like on my path with
Yeah.
where I was going. And I really, without a lot of actually a woman friends or like female mother, they just didn't have that energy. And we were all like isolated, it was like, don't hug each other, don't touch each other. And it'd been, anyways, not that I was following that whatsoever, but as
Really, I was not.
yeah, yeah. So
We're
yeah,
just
it
like
just,
hugging. Hugging is
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so anyways, I just wanted to share that download that I'm getting
Thank
about
you.
life, and going off the edge, and like what happens on the other side. And it was so beautiful to experience
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Yeah.
And I love what you're saying and I know that this is not my original thought, but about going to the cliff and just taking that jump, and something is going to show up.
Yeah.
And you just have to trust the universe. You have to trust the divine play that you're in, that something is going to show up. But you have to go to the cliff. You have to dare to jump. And then the unexpected and the unimaginable, that is, which is beyond your knowing, is going to show up. And once it does that one time, it just keeps going.
Oh my God. Completely. And this is so relevant, because I've been talking with someone, and they're really afraid to leave the comfort zone of like being close to their family and
Yeah,
their partner and this life that they live. And it's like there's this, it's like what they know. And they're so afraid to leave that, but they have a part of themselves that's like really has the sense that, there's something beyond that.
yeah,
And we're basically describing what is the beyond that,
yeah.
which is like we can't really explain it,
No,
but
and
there is.
it doesn't have to always have to be a place where you have to go to, or a change of your outside environment. It doesn't have to be that. It can be going to the edge of the cliff within yourself. And I think that's where you have to actually start. You have to first, before you make all the stuff around you change, you have to go to the edge of yourself, and you have to really understand yourself, because if you don't get to become a clear vessel of your unique, most beautiful expression of yourself, all the knowledge that you have about what's out here is flawed. And whatever decision you're going to make is going to be a flawed decision,
Oh,
because you're looking at it through your own, you know, rose colored glasses.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
To go
absolutely.
first is always in here. And once you do, maybe everything out here will change. I mean,
Yes, so much.
I've had a very difficult relationship with my sister, for example, my whole life. And she is my baby sister. And it's been a real feeling of contraction for me for so long. And and the only place I had to go was within myself. And this has been going on since I was 9. She was born when I was 9. Okay, so it's like a long time that I felt this incredible, you know, resistance to someone who obviously came in and took away all the attention that I wanted from my mother. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Just not her fault. She's just here to manifest her own life. But for me, it became this gigantic dark cloud in front of myself that was my responsibility. And I couldn't see her through the cloud. The cloud was mine. You know what I mean? But I always projected the cloud onto her. I couldn't see through it.
Mm.
And by doing all the stuff that I've been doing, by taking those little insights or these little tiny little trails within myself and exploring who I really am and what is really going on here, and by allowing all these things to dissolve, um, it's like magic that it's just no longer there, and I see this beautiful woman, you know, and
Mm.
my little sister, like I can, it is, it's like it's literally like magic that it's gone, and and I'm so grateful that she is alive. And I remember when the whole I call it the cloud, and that's just my way of doing it, but my responsibility, my cloud of not being able to see her. I remember when it just completely, just poof, it was gone. And you can imagine how amazing that must have been after so many years. Okay,
Oh.
like more than 40 years of carrying that cloud. She texted me something about Tina Turner dying. And she sent me a little thing about Tina Turner dying. When I was young, when she was born, I was really into all this R&B, blues, jazz, all kinds of weird music, which was weird for like a little kid in Sweden. And I introduced her to all these, like a lot of these artists, and I didn't remember that. So she sent me this little thing about, hey, I remember when you introduced me to all these artists, and it became such a big important thing for my life. And and I hung up, and and it was just like a big explosion, and everything was just clear. And
Oh.
that can happen with a lot of relationships, you know, if you dare to go to the edge of your own being.
Hmm.
And you know
Yes.
that yourself. It doesn't always have to be get rid of that person, or that person is like garbage, or I don't want to be in this relationship anymore, or whatever. It might be something, maybe first you need to look here. Like, what is what is what is inside of me here where I can't see this clearly, and how can I become more of me? And then from there, I will take my step in true knowledge that comes from my own inner being.
Mm.
Okay?
Mm.
Anyway, that was one of my boulders.
Oh, wow, beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so so nice that you're sharing about this. And yeah, it's like you when you do that, when you stay in yourself and you go to your own edge just within yourself, you can stay in the environment, but everything can change.
yeah,
Like it can. And yeah, it's beautiful what you're sharing because it's really speaking to like wherever you are, whoever you are, sort of in any situation, like there you can do your own work to become liberated, and whatever the outside is, like that it's just all within. Just
yeah,
is the message anyways.
yeah. And then you can see it, and then you know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you can know, well, maybe, yeah, maybe this is not a good thing, or maybe I need to,
Yeah.
navigate in a different way. There was
Yeah.
something, yeah, there's something else that I was thinking about. What you, I feel like I interrupted you.
Mm.
No,
No, you go.
I, I, I wanted to explore a little bit about with you about, um, you know, the, the beauty of the world, right? And what, because it's so much stuff is dark, right? And so many things that a lot of people are feeling is fear and anxiety and darkness. And I love that we spoke before when we were going to talk a little bit about the podcast about you said something. I was like, yeah, let's focus on this beautiful world that we live in. You know, it's sometimes we forget. It's like freaking paradise to be, you know what I mean? We've incarnated into paradise, you know? And then all this other stuff is just distraction from what is at hand. Like, what can we possibly come and to create here while we're here at this beautiful, like it's almost like a magical planet, you know what I mean? In some ways. Like how can we create something both within ourselves, but if we have the desire outside of ourselves? And we were talking about like the little pods of light, you know, and I kind of see the planet Earth as this beautiful place, and then there are like little beams of light that's like shining in different places, right? And I think that's important, like these little communities of beauty and light where we are almost like we are in the mother womb, you know, and creating this safe space for all of us to become who we were meant to be when we first came here. And from there, it's just like it's almost like it's all these little pots of light. They're connected somehow, but we might not even know of each other. You
Mm.
know, and that's kind of how I look at my place here, like when here in Sweden, like that this place that I created here, and how I look at your place that you created. You know, not just in Portugal, but you have a couple of places where you created these little beautiful places of light and just like purity of love, you know? And
Mm.
I think more and more of us are doing these things. We're creating little communities. Um, and even if we don't know it of each other, we can feel each other, right? We can feel the connection of that there's some excitement going on here. There's something exciting going on, right? Can you feel that? Yeah,
Yes.
I
Yes.
feel that. There's like little glitter that's like being sprinkled all over the earth, and it's just kind of getting some sort of a momentum. And even though a lot of things are really bananas, and I try not to look at that, there's something brewing here, you know, because we have removed, like a lot of us have really removed the big freaking rocks in our river, and it's starting to flow. And we're creating something really beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're like, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's so nice. I love your um the way that you share about that because sometimes I get really like trapped on like that there's so many dark places. Like
Yeah.
when I close my eyes, I'm like thinking about all the dark places that I've been and to just connect to the yeah, to the light places and the little beams everywhere and be more yeah, it's like trusting in that and keep going. It's so
Yeah.
much I feel like we just have to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
And I
cool
think,
that you made one of these little lighthouses in Sweden and because I feel generally like as I was around this area like there's not so much of this happening. So you really created like a powerful bubble, light bubble there and it's cool that you did it in a place where there was nothing before. Like that's really brave to say okay, we're going to move.
my abandoned building that was everyone wanted to tear down.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. 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 That
Right.
was it was standing there for a reason, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the perfect yoga healing portal space. It's really
Yeah.
special.
Yeah. It's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Wow.
What's also come up for me, and we can, through all these last 3 years of being not isolated, but I'm not isolated. I haven't been isolated just like you. But within, it's been really lonely.
Yeah.
There had to be almost like for me, I almost had how to completely go and just shut everything off and just go within and just stay there and not be engaged with anything anymore. But from that, now it feels, for me, I'm getting more and more of these callings for collaboration with other women, and I've never really felt that before. For me,
Mm,
like more of this feeling of wanting to create something with other women who have also gone on the same journey that we have.
mm,
That to me is really exciting. For me, it's like an opening into something um, new. This feeling of, oh, I've gotten to the point now where, okay, I can open my little door and peek out, saying what else is out there, you know, who can I create joy with, you know? So we'll see what happens. Like you're my first step. I'm creating joy with you today.
perfect.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much for your transmission on all of this and for your story and for your light and for this collaboration.
Yeah, and thank you for asking me to be on your Wild Woman podcast. I love it.
Yes.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. So if you want to say anything for people where they can find you, or I'll add a little text at the end, but are you offering anything soon? Where in Sweden are you? We're all coming.
Just all come. Can all stay at the yoga studio. We'll bed, light all the candles. Um, I'm in a small town in southern Sweden called Karlshamn, which is right on the water. It's really beautiful. But on Instagram, you can find the studio at Pure Yoga Sweden, and for me myself, you can find me at Ulrica Forrest Yoga or Ulrica Forrest Yoga. That's my Instagram handle.
Right.
Um, and the only thing I have coming up, I mean, obviously, I teach a ton of classes, but they're in Swedish. So um, if you're Swedish, then you can be a part of them live stream. And I also have a course coming up this fall, like a little mini course of exploration into the divine feminine that I'm going to do online. And it will be some of the stuff that we actually talked about today. So that would be really fun for me. And that's also in Swedish.
Okay.
Maybe one day I'll do something in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
you. I love you.
I love you too.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.